Hey, welcome to Imagine BL Story. If you're new here, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It really encourages my work and helps me bring you more stories. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy today's story. I was dying. I knew this because my fingers wouldn't stop trembling as I reached for the pill bottle on the nightstand. My lungs were collapsing. Each breath sounded wet, wrong, like I was drowning from the inside out. The pill bottle tipped over. White tablets scattered across the mahogany surface like tiny lies. No, please. I clawed at them, my vision blurring. The room spun. I could taste copper in my mouth, feel the familiar weakness spreading through my limbs. The same weakness that had been eating me alive for the past 8 months. But this time it was different. This time, something in my chest was tearing. My phone. Where was my phone? I knocked over the water glass trying to find it. The sound of shattering crystal should have woken someone. My husband's bedroom was just down the hall. He'd been sleeping separately since my condition worsened. Said my scent during 6 spells was too distressing for his alpha instincts. I believed him. My fingers finally closed around the phone. The screen was too bright, swimming with notifications I couldn't read. I hit the first contact. YoonJae Heartsuit. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Pick up. I wheezed into the darkness. My vocal cords were shot, barely producing sound. Please, YoonJae. Please. For rings. 5. Voicemail. My husband, my mate, just sent me to voicemail. Panic clawed up my throat. I tried the next contact with shaking, useless fingers. Minjun brother. My Omega stepbrother who'd moved in with us after our parents' accident. Who I'd been taking care of since he was 19. Who brought me soup when I was sick and read to me when the pain was too much. The phone rang. And rang. And rang. Blood was trickling from my nose now, hot and copper sweet. The call connected. Minjun, I gasped. But he didn't speak. Instead, I heard something that turned my blood to ice. Breathing. Heavy, labored breathing. And then, oh God! Right there. My stepbrother's voice. Breathy. Wanton. Shoo, he'll hear you. Another voice warned. YoonJae. That was my husband's voice. He took his medicine, Minjun moaned, and I heard the wet sound of kissing. He's dead to the world by now. That dose would knock out a horse. The phone slipped from my hand. No, I tried to move, tried to get up, tried to do anything, but my body wouldn't respond. The pills I'd been taking religiously, that Minjun prepared for me every night with such care, with such love. How much longer? That was YoonJae again, his voice rough with arousal. I'm tired of waiting, tired of pretending to care about that weak, clingy. Soon, Minjun interrupted, and he sounded happy. The doctor said his organs are failing. Another week, maybe 2. Then we can finally be together. Properly. Without hiding. Can't come soon enough. Do you know how hard it is to do this quietly? I want to claim you. Want everyone to know you're mine. You already did. Minjun laughed breathlessly. You claimed me 2 years ago, remember? Right after you married him. The world tilted. 2 years. They'd been... For 2 years? Best decision I ever made. YoonJae growled, and I heard furniture scraping. Marrying that pathetic Omega for his mom's pharmaceutical company. Getting access to everything. And then finding out his little stepbrother was 100 times better in bed. I'm the better Omega in every way, Minjun agreed, voice smug. Stronger. More fertile. Not a weakling who needs to be coddled. My chest seized. Couldn't breathe. Though I'll miss the inheritance money, YoonJae mused. Shame we couldn't get him to update his will. We still can. He'll sign anything I ask him to. He trusts me. Minjun's laugh was crystalline, beautiful. The same laugh I'd loved for 4 years. He's so pathetically grateful that I stayed with him after the accident. As if I had anywhere else to go. God, you're vicious, YoonJae said, admiring. It's so freaking hot. Their voices dissolved into sounds I couldn't bear to identify. I was on the floor now. Didn't remember falling. The Persian rug was soft against my cheek. A wedding gift from Yoonji's mother. She told me I was such a lovely Omega, and that her son was so lucky. Lucky. The seizure hit without warning. My back arched. My jaw locked. Foam bubbled at my lips, tinged pink with blood. This was it. This was how I died. 28 years old. Poisoned by the people I loved most. Alone on the floor of a bedroom in a mansion filled with staff who wouldn't check on me because my husband had told them I needed rest. My vision was darkening at the edges. tunneling down to a pinpoint of light. But I could still hear them. Still hear my husband and my stepbrother together in some corner of my house, waiting for me to die, counting down the days until my life insurance paid out and they could stop pretending. The last thing I felt was rage. Pure, incandescent rage. And then, nothing. The next time I opened my eyes, I was standing in my bedroom doorway, looking at my own body on the floor. There was so much blood. My eyes were open, staring at nothing. My mouth was slack. There was vomit on my silk pajama shirt. The blue ones YoonJae said made my eyes look like the ocean. I was dead, and I was watching my own body, and I couldn't feel anything. No heartbeat, just emptiness and fury. I tried to scream, but no sound came out. I tried to touch my body, but my hand passed through it like smoke. No, this couldn't be. Footsteps in the hallway. I spun around. Minjun appeared first, his hair mussed, wearing nothing but one of my silk robes. His lips were swollen, his neck covered in fresh claiming bites. Alpha bites. YoonJae's bites. He looked at my body and smiled. Actually smiled. YoonJae, he called, voice bright. YoonJae, come quick. My husband appeared behind him, shirtless, still fastening his belt. His eyes landed on my corpse, and for one heartbreaking moment, I thought I saw regret. Then he grinned. Finally? YoonJae breathed, running a hand through his hair. Christ, finally. I thought he'd never. He stopped himself, glancing at Minjun. We should call 911. Make it look good. Obviously. Minjun rolled his eyes, pulling out his phone. Do I look stupid? He stepped over my body, stepped over me, to get better reception near the window. I lunged for him, screaming, trying to claw at his face. My hands passed through him like he was made of water. No! I shrieked. No, you! Neither of them reacted. They couldn't hear me. They couldn't see me. I was a ghost, a spirit, a corpse on the floor while my murderers called the police and practiced their grief faces. Remember, YoonJae told Minjun, gripping his shoulder. You found him. You're devastated. I was in the East Wing office working late. Didn't hear anything. I know the plan, Minjun interrupted, but his voice cracked perfectly on cue. God, my poor brother. He was so sick. We did everything we could. He was rehearsing. They were both rehearsing while my body cooled on the floor. I sank to my knees beside my body, trying desperately to touch it, to feel something, but there was nothing. And as I knelt there in the growing pool of my own blood, watching my husband kiss my stepbrother's forehead and whisper, "We're free," I made a promise. I didn't know how. I didn't know when. But I was going to make them pay. Even if I had to haunt them for eternity. Even if I had to drag them both to hell. They would pay for this. The ambulance arrived in 12 minutes. I knew because I counted every second. Kneeling beside my body, screaming words no one could hear. The paramedics were professional. Efficient. They checked for a pulse they wouldn't find. Shone lights into eyes that didn't respond. Called out medical jargon that all meant the same thing. Too late. Time of death, 2:47 a.m. The older one said, and I watched him zip me into a black bag like I was evidence. I suppose I was. Evidence of a perfect crime. Minjun was sobbing in the corner, loud, theatrical sobs that would win him awards. His Omega scent flooded the room, distressed and sweet, designed to trigger sympathy. I came to check on him, Minjun gasped between sobs, clutching YoonJae's arm. He wasn't answering his phone, and I got worried. Liar. I threw myself at him, trying to wrap my hands around his throat, but I passed through him like mist. The momentum sent me stumbling through the wall into the hallway. YoonJae pulled Minjun into his arms, playing the role of supportive husband and protective brother-in-law, with Oscar-worthy precision. It's not your fault, YoonJae murmured, and his voice cracked just right. You did everything you could. The doctors said his condition was inevitable. What condition? I'd been healthy before I married him. I ran marathons. I hiked. I lived on coffee and ambition and the thrill of building my family's company into an empire. Then I met YoonJae at a business lecture. Alpha, gorgeous, charming, from a good family, with impeccable connections. We dated for 6 months. He courted me properly, asked my father's permission before proposing. Everything was perfect. The wedding was in spring. Cherry blossoms everywhere. I wore white. YoonJae cried during his vows. I thought I was the luckiest Omega alive. Then 3 months later, after my father's death, the illness started. Just small things at first: fatigue, dizziness, nausea. Then fainting spells, shortness of breath, seizures that came out of nowhere. Doctor after doctor, test after test, and no one could figure out what was wrong. Rare autoimmune disorder, they finally said. We'll manage the symptoms. Through it all, YoonJae played the devoted husband. Minjun played the caring brother. They fed me poison with a smile. The police arrived next, 2 detectives asking routine questions, checking for signs of struggle, taking notes. They found nothing suspicious, just another tragic death consistent with a documented medical history. We'll need an autopsy, the alpha detective said. Standard procedure. My non-existent heart soared. An autopsy would find the poison, reveal the truth. But YoonJae didn't even flinch. Of course, he said quietly. Whatever you need. I just want to know if there was something more we could have done. His performance was flawless. Minjun clutched his hand, still crying softly. He was everything to me. My brother. My family. The detective's expression softened. I'm sorry for your loss. They took my body away. Down the stairs I used to run down every morning. Past the kitchen where Minjun made me breakfast. Through the foyer where YoonJae and I danced at our anniversary party. I followed the gurney like the ghost I'd become, watching the world continue without me. I drifted back upstairs, pulled by some invisible thread toward the master bedroom. Toward them. They sat on my bed. Our bed. The one YoonJae hadn't slept in for months. Minjun's tears had dried. His face was calm now, almost peaceful. How long do we have to wait? He asked, leaning into YoonJae's shoulder. YoonJae checked his watch. A week for the autopsy. Another week for the funeral. Then the will reading. 3 weeks, give or take. We can manage 3 weeks. And if they find something, they won't. I made sure of it. The compounds we used metabolize quickly. By the time they cut him open, there'll be nothing left but organ failure consistent with his condition. Compounds. Plural. How many different poisons had they fed me? What about his best friend? Minjun asked suddenly. That beta. Taehyun. He's been calling non-stop. What if he suspects something? YoonJae snorted. That pathetic puppy? Please. He's been in love with my husband for years and never had the guts to say anything. He'll cry at the funeral, write some emotional tribute, and move on. Wait, Taehyun? In love with me? My best friend since college. The beta who stood beside me at my wedding even though he looked like he was going to be sick the entire ceremony. I thought it was nerves. Still, Minjun mused. We should be careful around him. If anyone could make trouble, he won't, because there's nothing to find. We were perfect. YoonJae cupped Minjun's face, kissed him deeply. Just a few more weeks of playing grieving widower and devastated brother. Then we sell this place, take the money, and start our real life. Our real life, Minjun echoed, smiling. Finally, they kissed again, defiling my marriage bed, and I watched, unable to look away, unable to stop them. This was hell. Dawn broke, and the house began to stir. Staff members arrived and learned the news. Mrs. Choi wailing, the gardener crossing himself, the cook sitting down hard with her hand over her mouth. These people who saw me every day actually cared that I was dead. More than my husband did. More than my brother did. YoonJae played his part beautifully, accepting condolences with quiet dignity, thanking people for their sympathy, asking them to respect the family's privacy. And I drifted through the house like smoke, screaming at walls that didn't hear me, crying tears that didn't fall. The sun was fully up when the doorbell rang. Mrs. Choi answered it. I need to see YoonJae, a familiar voice demanded. Right now. I don't care if. Taehyun. I rushed toward the sound, and suddenly I was in the foyer staring at my best friend. He looked wrecked. His dark hair was uncombed. His eyes were red and swollen. He was wearing yesterday's clothes. I recognized the blue sweater I'd bought him for his birthday. He looked like he hadn't slept, like his world just ended. Please, Mrs. Choi was saying gently. Mr. Lee is not. I don't care what he is. Taehyun snapped, and his voice broke. My best friend is dead and no one called me. I had to find out from the news. YoonJae appeared at the top of the stairs, wearing a black suit now, looking every inch the mourning husband. Taehyun, he said softly. I'm sorry. Everything happened so fast. I was going to call you. How did he die? Taehyun interrupted. His hands were shaking. Tell me how he died. His heart gave out. The doctor said. Bull. The word cracked through the foyer like a whip. He was fine last month. I had lunch with him last month and he was fine. He was declining rapidly, YoonJae said, descending the stairs with measured steps. You know he didn't like people seeing him when he was sick. He didn't want you to worry. Don't you dare tell me what he wanted. Taehyun snarled, and I'd never heard him sound like this. My gentle, soft-spoken best friend sounded feral. I knew him for 10 years. 10 years. You've known him for 3. Don't you dare. His voice broke completely. He crumpled. Just crumpled against the doorframe, sliding down until he was sitting on the marble floor, and the sounds coming out of him were broken. I dropped beside him, reaching for him instinctively. Taehyun, I whispered. God, Taehyun, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My hand passed through his shoulder. But he flinched, just barely. Just a slight hitch in his breathing. A subtle turn of his head as if he'd heard something in the distance. No, no way. Taehyun, I said again, leaning closer. Can you hear me? Another flinch. His eyes darted around the foyer, confused, searching. Oh my God. He could hear me. I was afraid to breathe. Not that I could breathe, I was dead, I didn't need to. But the instinct was there, the panic response that made my non-existent lungs seize. Because Taehyun heard me. His head was still tilting, eyes scanning the empty air around him like he was trying to find a radio station through static. His beta senses were attuned differently than alphas or omegas, more balanced, more perceptive to subtleties. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's how. Taehyun, YoonJae said, and his voice was careful, calculated. Let me help you up. You're in shock. Let me. Don't touch me. The words were quiet but absolute. YoonJae's hand froze mid-reach. For just a second, barely a heartbeat. I saw irritation flash across his face. Then it was gone, replaced by concern so fake it made me want to vomit. I understand you're upset, YoonJae said softly. But please come inside. Have some tea. We can talk about the arrangements. Arrangements? Taehyun's laugh was sharp and bitter. You mean his funeral? You want to plan how to bury him like he's a task on your calendar. That's not what Where's Minjun? Taehyun cut him off, finally looking up. His eyes were bloodshot but sharp. Too sharp. Where's his precious little stepbrother? Shouldn't he be down here? Devastated? Instead of hiding upstairs. YoonJae's jaw tightened. Minjun is grieving. He found the body. He's traumatized. Convenient, Taehyun muttered. Excuse me? Nothing. Taehyun pushed himself to his feet, swaying slightly. I want to see him. Taehyun, I don't think. I want to see his body. Taehyun said louder, voice cracking. I need to see him. Please. Please, YoonJae. I need. He broke again. And I couldn't stand it. Taehyun. I screamed it this time, putting everything I had into it. Taehyun. I'm here. He gasped. Actually gasped. Like someone punched the air from his lungs. His head whipped toward me. Toward where I was standing, and his eyes went wide. Did you? He whispered, staring at the empty space where I was. Did you hear? Hear what? YoonJae asked, frowning. Taehyun didn't answer. He was staring at nothing. At me. And I could see his mind working, trying to rationalize what he'd just heard. Taehyun? Are you all right? I'm. Taehyun shook his head, pressing his palms against his eyes. I'm losing my mind. I need air. I need. He turned and stumbled toward the door. Wait, YoonJae started. I'll come back, Taehyun said without looking back. For the funeral. Then he was gone. And I didn't think. I just followed. The world blurred. 1 second I was in the foyer, the next I was on the street outside, watching Taehyun fumble with his car keys. His hands were shaking so badly he dropped them twice. Shoot, he muttered. Shoot, shoot, shoot. Taehyun. I said it softly this time, gently. He froze with his hand on the car door. Please, I whispered. Please, if you can hear me. I'm hallucinating, he said to no one, to himself, to the morning air. I'm sleep-deprived and in shock and I'm hallucinating. That's all. That's normal. You're not hallucinating. He made a sound like a wounded animal. Then he wrenched open the car door, threw himself inside, and drove. I was in the passenger seat before I realized I'd moved. Taehyun drove 15 miles over the speed limit, knuckles white on the steering wheel, breathing too fast. He was having a panic attack. Tae, I said quietly. Breathe. You need to breathe. Shut up, he gasped. Shut up, You're not real, you're not. Pull over before you crash. Shut up. He swerved into a parking lot, some empty strip mall, and slammed on the brakes. The car lurched to a stop. Then Taehyun just broke apart. He folded over the steering wheel and sobbed. Deep, tearing sounds that came from somewhere primal. His whole body shook with it. And I sat there, helpless, wanting desperately to comfort him. I'm sorry, he gasped between sobs. I'm so sorry. I knew something was wrong. I knew and I didn't. I should have pushed harder. Should have made you leave him. Should have. What? What do you mean? I leaned toward him. Tae, what do you mean you knew? Told you I loved you years ago instead of being a coward. Maybe you wouldn't have married him. Maybe you'd still be. His voice broke completely, and my entire world tilted. Years ago, YoonJae said Taehyun had been in love with me for years. I thought he was exaggerating, being cruel. But it was true. How long? I whispered. Taehyun didn't answer. Couldn't answer. He was crying too hard. I watched him fall apart in the driver's seat, surrounded by empty coffee cups and case files from work, grieving for me while I sat 18 inches away, unable to touch him, unable to tell him I was here. Except, maybe I could. Taehyun, I said clearly, firmly. Listen to me. His crying stuttered, slowed. I know you can hear me. I don't know how, but I know you can. He lifted his head slowly. His face was blotchy and wet. They killed me, I said. YoonJae and Minjun. They poisoned me. And they're going to get away with it unless you help me. Silence. Long, horrible silence. Then, this isn't real. His voice was hoarse, broken. This is grief. Or psychosis. Or I'm having a breakdown because my best friend is dead and I never told him. He stopped, swallowed hard. Never told me what? Never told him that every single day for 8 years, I wanted to take him away from everyone and everything that hurt him and keep him safe. He laughed, sharp and bitter. And instead I watched him marry an alpha who was wrong for him. Watched him get sick. Watched him die, and I did nothing. I'm a coward. You're not a coward, I interrupted. Tae, you're the bravest person I know. And I need you. Please. I need you to. I can't do this. He was shaking his head, starting the car again. I can't. I'm going home. I'm going to sleep. And when I wake up, this won't be happening. Because dead people don't talk. Taehyun. I screamed it with everything I had, all the rage and terror and desperation. The radio exploded to life. Static. Deafening static that made Taehyun yelp and slap at the controls. But it wouldn't turn off. The volume dial spun on its own, cranking higher until the speakers were crackling. Then a voice cut through. My voice. Please. The radio died. Silence. Taehyun was frozen, hands still on the dial, eyes wide as dinner plates. No, he whispered. No, that's not possible. It's me. This time I didn't yell. I focused everything I had on the radio, on the connection, on making him hear. The static returned, softer now. Underneath it, faint but clear. It's me, Tae. I'm here. I'm dead, but I'm here. He stared at the radio like it might bite him. Say something, I begged. Please just say something. Anything. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Siwoo. My name. He said my name. Relief crashed through me so hard I thought I might disappear. Yes. I gasped through the static. Yes. It's me, it's Siwoo. I'm here. This is impossible. I know. Dead people can't. I know. Tae. I gentled my voice. I'm dead. I know I'm dead. But I'm still here. And I need your help. Silence. Then, so quietly I almost missed it. How? I don't know. But I saw everything. After I died. I saw them, YoonJae and Minjun. Together. They. My voice cut out. The static swelled. I was losing the connection. Poisoned me? I forced out desperately. For months. Maybe years. They wanted me dead. Tae. They wanted the money and the company and each other, and I was just in the way. The radio sparked. Taehyun jerked back as smoke started curling from the dashboard. I don't have much time, I said frantically. You have to listen. I'm listening, Taehyun said, and his voice was steady now, certain. He believed me. The autopsy, I rushed out. They'll do an autopsy, but YoonJae said the compounds metabolize fast. Said they won't find anything. But maybe if you tell them to look for something specific. What compounds? Taehyun was reaching for his phone now. Siwoo, what compounds? I don't know, he didn't say. But The radio died completely. No static. No spark. Just nothing. The connection was gone. Severed. No, I whispered. No, please. Taehyun was staring at the smoking radio. Siwoo, are you still? Can you still hear me? Yes, I said. But nothing happened. No static. No voice. Nothing. Shoot. He ran his hands through his hair. Okay. You're a ghost. My best friend is a ghost. That's fine. That's a thing that happens. He was spiraling. He stopped. Took a breath. When he spoke again, his voice was different. Focused. If you can still hear me, he said to the empty car, I'm going to help you. I don't care if I'm crazy. I don't care if this is real or if I finally snapped. I'm going to help you. He started the car. I'm going to find out what they gave you. I'm going to prove they killed you. And then I'm going to make sure they burn for it. The determination in his voice made something in my chest ache. You saved my life once, he said quietly, pulling out of the parking lot. Remember? Junior year. When things got bad. He swallowed hard. I remembered. I'd found him on the roof of our dorm at 3 a.m. Legs dangling over the edge, bottle of pills in his hand. I talked him down. Held him while he cried. Never left his side for 2 weeks. So now it's my turn, Taehyun continued. My turn to save you, even if you're already gone. He drove, and I sat beside him, watching the city blur past, watching the sun climb higher in a sky I'd never feel again. Taehyun's apartment was exactly as I remembered. Small, cluttered, books everywhere. The walls were covered in photographs. Us at college graduation, at concerts, on random road trips. There was one on his desk that made my throat tight. Me, laughing at something off camera, golden hour sunlight in my hair. I was wearing the blue shirt Taehyun always said matched my eyes. He took that photo. He framed that photo. How had I never seen? Taehyun went straight to his laptop, pulling up search engines, medical databases, anything he could find about poisons that metabolize quickly. Cardiac arrest, he muttered, typing frantically. Organ failure. What causes that? What doesn't show up in a standard talk screen? He worked for hours. I watched him drink cold coffee, fill notebook pages with chemical formulas, call in sick to work without taking his eyes off the screen. Around 2 p.m., his phone rang. YoonJae flashed on the screen. Taehyun stared at it, jaw tight. Then he answered. Hello, Taehyun. Yoonji's voice was warm, concerned. I wanted to check on you. You left so suddenly this morning. I'm fine. You didn't seem fine. Well, my best friend just died. So forgive me for not being at my best. A pause. I understand you're grieving, YoonJae said carefully. We all are. But I'm worried about you. Siwoo would want. Don't. Taehyun cut him off, voice sharp. Don't tell me what Siwoo would want. You have no idea. I was his husband. You were a title on a marriage certificate. I was his friend. There's a difference. I could hear Yoonji's breathing change through the phone. He was angry now, trying to hide it. The funeral is Saturday, he said, voice clipped. I assume you'll be there? Try keeping me away. Good. We should present a united front. For Siwoo's sake. Sure. United. That's exactly what we are. He hung up, then immediately pulled up a new browser tab and typed. How to prove someone was poisoned after death. I drifted closer, reading over his shoulder. The search results weren't encouraging. Most poisons did show up in autopsies, but only if you were looking for them specifically. And if the compounds metabolized quickly enough, if enough time passed between death and examination. There has to be something, Taehyun muttered. Hair samples, tissue samples, something they can test for. His phone buzzed. A text this time. Minjun. I heard you visited this morning. Thank you for caring about my brother. Can we meet before the funeral? I'd like to share memories of him. Taehyun stared at the message. Unbelievable, he whispered. Unfreaking believable. He typed back, of course. Name the time and place. Then he pulled up a voice recorder app on his phone. If you're going to confess, he said to the screen, to himself, to them, I'm going to make damn sure I have proof. The cafe Minjun chose was small and upscale, tucked in a quiet neighborhood where people minded their business. I hovered near the corner booth where Minjun sat in his black turtleneck, eyes red-rimmed. Makeup, probably. When Taehyun arrived, something flickered across his face. Disgust. Rage carefully bottled. He smoothed it into neutrality. Minjun. Taehyun. Minjun pulled him into an unwanted hug. Thank you for coming. I know this must be hard for you too. Hard doesn't begin to cover it. Taehyun pulled away and slid into the opposite seat. I spotted the phone in his jacket, red light recording. Good. Minjun ordered tea. Taehyun ordered nothing. I need to know if he ever said anything. Minjun began, voice wounded. About being unhappy. About wanting to. He covered his mouth. Are you asking if he was suicidal? Ice in Taehyun's voice. No. I found my brother dead and keep wondering if I missed something. Liar. I hissed. You're such a damn liar. He never mentioned being suicidal, Taehyun said. Last time we had lunch, he seemed hopeful. Said the new medication was helping. Minjun's mask slipped, eyes sharp for half a second before grief returned. The medication. Yes. I made sure he took it every night. How dedicated of you. He was my brother. I would have done anything for him. Clearly. The word hung between them. What's that supposed to mean? Minjun tilted his head. Nothing. Just that you were very attentive. Always there. Always making sure he took his medicine, ate his meals, stayed in bed when he was tired. Because I loved him. Did you? The question cut through the ambient noise like a blade. Excuse me? Did you love him? Taehyun leaned forward. Because I've been thinking about how convenient it all was. How Siwoo got sick right after you moved in. How the illness worsened no matter what doctors tried. How you were always the one preparing his medication. Stop. Minjun's voice went cold, grief vanishing. Whatever you're implying. I'm not implying anything. Just saying it's interesting. Interesting timing. Interesting circumstances. They stared at each other. I watched Minjun calculate how much Taehyun knew versus guessed. Siwoo had an autoimmune disorder, Minjun said finally. Multiple doctors confirmed it. There will be an autopsy. They'll find nothing suspicious because there's nothing to find. I hope you're right. For your sake. Is that a threat? It's a statement of fact. Taehyun stood. This was enlightening. Taehyun. Minjun called after him. Grief can make people paranoid. Make them see conspiracies where there are none. You wouldn't want to embarrass yourself. Or damage your career with baseless accusations. Taehyun looked back, smile all teeth. The only person who should be worried about their reputation is the one with something to hide. Then he was gone. And I followed. 2 blocks later, Taehyun stopped in an alley, bracing against brick, breathing hard. He pulled out his phone, played back the recording. They'll find nothing suspicious because there's nothing to find. He's confident. Too confident. Which means whatever they used doesn't show up easily. Shoot. He paced, running hands through his hair. I need professional help. I'm a corporate lawyer, not a detective. He pulled up a contact. Detective Jean Hwan homicide. Old friend from college. Owed me a favor. This might be enough to cash it in. The call connected. Taehyun. Hwan. I need your help. My best friend died 3 days ago. And I think he was murdered. Silence. Then, come to the station. Now. Detective Jean Hwan was exactly as I remembered. Tall alpha with sharp eyes that missed nothing. Taehyun sat across from him, exhausted and wired. Talk, Hwan said. Taehyun laid it all out. My marriage to YoonJae, the sudden illness, Minjun's constant involvement, the recorded conversation. Then he leaned forward. Siwoo called me the night he died. I didn't answer, phone on silent, working late. By the time I saw the missed call, he was already gone. His voice cracked. I checked his call log. He called YoonJae first, then Minjun, then me. None of us answered. But when I tried calling back, Minjun's phone was busy. At 2 a.m., right when Siwoo would have been dying. So you think? I think Siwoo accidentally called Minjun's phone while Minjun was with YoonJae. And whatever they were doing, they didn't want interrupted. That's thin, Hwan said carefully. I know. That's why I need help. The autopsy. Can we request specific toxicology tests? Hwan was quiet. There's a procedure. But I'd need more than a recorded conversation and phone call theory. I'd need actual evidence. Taehyun's shoulders slumped. I don't have that. Then get it. The house, they'd have kept the medications, right? If those could be tested, YoonJae would have disposed of them by now. Maybe, maybe not. Criminals get cocky. Hwan leaned back. When's the funeral? Saturday. So the house will be empty during the service. Meaningful look. Might be your only chance to look around. You're telling me to break into my dead best friend's house. I'm telling you evidence doesn't find itself. Long silence. Then, if I find something, bring it to me. I'll make sure it's tested properly. Hwan's expression softened. I'm sorry about your friend, Tae. If someone killed him, I'll make sure they pay. Taehyun went home. Didn't sleep. Instead, he studied blueprints like preparing for war, mapping entry points and exit strategies. I watched him work, something twisting in my chest. He was risking everything, career, freedom, maybe his life, for a dead man. Don't do this, I whispered. Tae, please. It's too dangerous. But he couldn't hear me begging him to stop, couldn't hear me screaming that he mattered more than revenge. My panic crescendoed and suddenly, pop, the desk lamp flickered. Taehyun's head snapped up. Siwoo, pop pop. The overhead light joined in. Is that you? If that's you, do it again. Once for yes. I focused everything on the lamp. Pop. Once. Holy crap. His laugh bordered on hysterical. Okay. 1 flicker for yes, 2 for no. Can you do that? Pop. Yes. Are YoonJae and Minjun guilty? Pop. Did they poison you? Pop. Do you want me to break into the house? I hesitated. No, I didn't want him in danger. But yes, we needed evidence. 2 flickers. No. Then 1 flicker. Yes. Taehyun frowned. That's mixed signals, buddy. Pop pop. Pop pop pop. I flickered frantically. Be careful. Be safe. Don't trust them. Okay. I get it. You're conflicted. But here's the thing, Siwoo. He sat back down, staring at the lamp. I spent 10 years loving you and never saying it. 10 years watching you with someone else. Watching you die. And I did nothing. His voice broke. So I'm doing this, with or without your blessing. Because I can't just let them get away with it. I can't. Pop pop. No. Too bad. You don't get a vote anymore. You're dead. The words hung in the air. Harsh. True. I watched him turn back to his blueprints. Watched him plan my revenge. Watched him prepare to walk into the lion's den. And I realized something. He wasn't doing this for me. He was doing this for himself. Because living with the guilt of my death would destroy him. This was his survival. His way of not drowning. So I stopped fighting. Let him plan. And promised myself that no matter what happened, I'd protect him. Even if I was just a ghost. Even if all I could do was flicker lights and move through walls. I wouldn't let them hurt him. Not like they hurt me. They dressed me in white, traditional Omega funeral attire, pure and virginal. The irony wasn't lost on me as I stared down at my own body in the open casket, surrounded by white lilies and hollow sympathy. I looked peaceful. I wasn't peaceful. I died choking on my own blood, betrayed by everyone I loved. The funeral home was packed with colleagues, distant relatives, and society people who couldn't pick me out of a lineup but showed up because it was expected. At the front, playing their roles perfectly, YoonJae in black, accepting condolences with quiet dignity. Minjun, beside him, dabbing his eyes, leaning into YoonJae for support. They were touching, in public, at my funeral. His hand on Yoonji's arm, Yoonji's hand at the small of his back. Everyone saw brotherly comfort between the grieving family. I saw victory. Such a tragedy. Someone whispered behind me. The husband looks devastated. They were so in love. I wanted to scream. Taehyun entered, looking like hell. 3 days without sleep. Wrinkled suit, crooked tie, hollow eyes, but sharp. He walked past YoonJae without a word, stopped at my casket, and stared at my face. I'm going to fix this, he whispered. I promise. Then he slipped something small into the casket beside my hand. A folded piece of paper, hidden beneath my cold fingers. He moved on, took a seat in the back, and waited. The service was predictable. A pastor who never met me talked about my gentle spirit. YoonJae gave an Oscar-worthy eulogy about how I was the light of his life, and how he'd spend the rest of his life honoring my memory. The crowd ate it up. I watched Minjun squeeze his shoulder, watched the subtle smile they exchanged when no one was looking. Then Minjun spoke. My brother saved me. When I had nowhere to go, he took me in. Loved me unconditionally. His voice broke beautifully. I would give anything to have him back. The only true thing he said. He'd give anything to have me back so he could kill me again. The burial was quick. They lowered me into the ground next to my parents who died in the accident that brought Minjun into my life. Now I wondered if that was an accident at all. How long had this been planned? The crowd dispersed to the house for the reception. Taehyun lingered, waited until alone, then pulled out his phone. Hwan? Yeah, they're all leaving now. Once I'm sure they're distracted, I'll find it. Whatever they used. Then he was gone. And I was alone at my own grave. The house was chaos. Caterers, mourners, strangers eating canapes and pretending they cared. YoonJae worked the room like a politician. Minjun stayed close, the perfect devastated brother. And Taehyun hunted. An hour in, YoonJae got pulled into conversation with the CFO. Minjun was cornered by an ant. Taehyun slipped away. I followed him upstairs to the master bedroom. He locked the door and immediately started searching. Nightstand drawers, nothing. Under the bed, dust. The closet. He stopped, stared. All of Yoonji's clothes were gone. Every single piece. He moved out, Taehyun muttered. Already moved out. He checked the bathroom. Medicine cabinet empty. Under the sink, cleaning supplies. Nothing. Shoot. Taehyun hissed. They cleaned everything. Wait, I remembered something. Minjun used to prepare my medication in his bathroom. I drifted through the wall into Minjun's room. Focused on the lamp. Put everything I had into it. It exploded. Glass shattered outward. Taehyun heard it. Froze. Siwoo. I flickered the overhead light. Pop. Yes. He crossed quickly into Minjun's room. What am I looking for? I moved to the bathroom. He followed, opened the medicine cabinet, and found it. Rows of pill bottles. My name on every label. Holy crap, he breathed. He photographed everything, then grabbed 3 small bottles and shoved them into his jacket pockets. Footsteps in the hallway. Just need a moment. Minjun's voice. All these people. It's overwhelming. Taehyun dove into the closet, pulled the door closed just as Minjun entered. My stepbrother sat on the bed, loosened his tie, then smiled, not sad, not grief-stricken. Satisfied, he pulled out his phone, texted someone. Minjun, it's done. He's in the ground. We're free. YoonJae, celebration tonight. Our bed. Our house. Finally. Minjun, I love you. YoonJae, love you too. Now get back down here and play the grieving brother a little longer. Minjun laughed. Soft, cruel, and stood. But before leaving, he walked to his nightstand, opened the drawer, pulled out a small vial. I recognized it instantly. The same one he used to add drops to my medication every night. He held it up to the light. Sweet dreams, big brother. Hope hell is everything you deserve. Then he put it back and left. Taehyun emerged immediately, crossed to the nightstand. He grabbed the vial, photographed the drawer, took everything that looked medical. Got you, he breathed. More footsteps. Multiple people. Voices in the hallway. Taehyun bolted down the back stairs. But YoonJae rounded the corner at exactly the wrong moment. They nearly collided. Taehyun, what are you doing up here? Bathroom. Downstairs one was occupied. There's a bathroom by the kitchen. Didn't know that. They stared at each other. Yoonji's eyes flicked to Taehyun's jacket. Slightly bulky now. You should head back down. Wouldn't want anyone to think you're snooping. Why would I snoop? Got nothing to hide here, right? Of course not. But Yoonji's hand was in his pocket now, on his phone. See you downstairs, Taehyun said casually and walked away. Not too fast, not too slow. But I saw his hands shaking. He made it to his car, locked the doors, drove 3 blocks and pulled over, shaking so hard he could barely hold the steering wheel. His phone rang. Detective Hwan. Did you get it? Yeah. Pills, vials, some kind of liquid medication. All from Minjun's bathroom. Get to the station. Now, I'll fast-track the testing. YoonJae saw me upstairs. He knows I was looking for something. Silence. Then we need to move fast. If they try to dispose of evidence, if they lawyer up, get here. Now. The call ended. Taehyun drove, and I sat in the passenger seat, watching the city blur past, feeling something like hope for the first time since I died. We had evidence. We had proof. We were going to get them. The lab results came back in 48 hours. Taehyun didn't sleep, didn't eat, just paced while I flickered lights to let him know I was still here. When Detective Hwan called, Taehyun answered before the first ring finished. Tell me. He mentioned a lot of drugs, most we suspected, all in varying doses across the medications. Enough to kill someone slowly over months while mimicking autoimmune failure. Taehyun closed his eyes. How long? Based on concentrations, they'd been poisoning him for at least 8 months. 8 months of slow death. And the vial? Concentrated mixture. 1 dose would have caused the cardiac arrest that killed him. Taehyun, this is premeditated murder. I'm bringing them in now. Meet me at the station in 2 hours. The call ended. Taehyun sat down hard. We did it. Siwoo, we freaking did it. Pop. The lamp flickered once. Yes. I was at the house when police arrived. YoonJae was going through my financial documents. Minjun was with the interior designer planning renovations. They were redecorating. I wasn't even cold in the ground. Mrs. Choi answered the door. Detective Jean Hwan, Homicide Division. I have a warrant for the arrest of Choi YoonJae and Park Minjun. YoonJae appeared, face carefully neutral. There must be some mistake. No mistake. We have evidence you conspired to murder Kim Siwoo through systematic poisoning over 8 months. The color drained from his face. That's absurd. Where is Park Minjun? Minjun stepped out from the kitchen, and I saw the moment he understood. Pure panic. I don't know what you're talking about, he says, but his voice is shaking. My brother was sick. Your brother was poisoned. Lee YoonJae, Park Minjun, you're under arrest for the murder of Kim Siwoo. YoonJae ran toward the back door, but officers tackled him in the hallway. Minjun crumbled, fell to his knees sobbing. No, it wasn't supposed to. We didn't mean. You have the right to remain silent. I suggest you use it. They were cuffed, led out past horrified staff, gathering neighbors, news cameras that somehow already arrived, and I watched them go, watched them be dragged toward consequences. Finally, the trial took weeks. I was there for every second. Taehyun testified about the stolen evidence, the phone call, everything he discovered. Detective Hwan presented lab results proving what they did. Financial records showed YoonJae had been embezzling for over a year, that Minjun had a life insurance policy on me worth millions. The prosecutor painted a picture so damning even their expensive lawyers couldn't refute it. Minjun broke on the stand. It was YoonJae's idea. He said we could be together if Siwoo was gone. You liar! YoonJae screamed. You brought me the poison. They turned on each other spectacularly. Every secret, every lie, every cruel thing they said about me. It all came out. The jury deliberated for 2 hours. Guilty. Both of them. First-degree murder. 15 years minimum. I was at Taehyun's apartment when the verdict came through. He'd been watching live coverage, and when guilty flashed across the screen, he broke. Sobbed so hard he couldn't breathe. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I didn't protect you. I'm sorry I didn't tell you I loved you when you were alive. Pop, pop, pop. I flickered frantically. No apologies. Not from him. I wasted so much time being afraid. And now you're gone. The TV suddenly changed channels. Once, twice, 3 times. Cycling until it landed on a music channel playing our song. The one we danced to drunk at 3 a.m. in his dorm room. Taehyun stared. Siwoo. Pop. Yes. Are you still here? Even though it's over. I didn't know how to answer, because I felt something pulling at me now. Something warm and distant and inevitable. Like a current I'd been resisting. I was fading. Don't go. Please. I'm not ready to lose you again. Pop, pop. I wasn't ready either. But I didn't get a choice. I felt myself becoming lighter, thinner. The world growing soft. I love you, Taehyun said to the flickering lights. I should have said it every day. I've always loved you. Pop. I know. Pop. I love you too. The lights flared once, bright and warm. And then I was standing in Taehyun's dorm room. College age. We were sitting on his bed, laughing. He looked at me with so much love it made my chest ache. You know I'd do anything for you, right? I know, younger me replied. But I didn't know. Not really. Not until I was dead and he burned his world down to get me justice. Memory after memory flashed, graduation, late nights, stolen moments. All the love I'd been too blind to see. And finally I understood. Thank you, I whispered. Thank you for letting me see it. The pull intensified. I was going somewhere else. Somewhere after. But before I did, I appeared one last time in Taehyun's apartment. He'd fallen asleep on the couch. TV still playing our song. Tears dried on his cheeks. I couldn't touch him. But I could try. I focused everything I had. Every ounce of energy left on my hand. And for just 1 second I felt warmth. Solid warmth. My hand in his. Taehyun's eyes fluttered open. He looked down. Saw nothing. But felt everything. Siwoo. Pop, goodbye. Pop, pop. I love you. Pop. Thank you. The lights faded to normal, and I faded with them. Epilogue. 2 years later, Taehyun stood at my grave with fresh flowers. He came every week without fail. "Hey," he said softly, arranging white lilies. "Big news today. The company promoted me to CEO. The board finally agreed. I think you'd be proud." The wind picked up slightly. He smiled. "I'm seeing someone. A beta. Works at a bookstore. You'd like him. I'm not trying to replace you. Just trying to keep living. Like you'd want." Wind chimes tinkled gently nearby. YoonJae and Minjun appealed their sentences. Got denied. They'll be in prison for a long time. Good. I hope they rot. He paused, then softer. "I still miss you every day, but I'm okay now. I think you'd want that too." He stood, touched the headstone. "Until next week, Siwoo." He walked away, and if the flowers bloomed a little brighter in his wake, if sunlight hit the grave a little warmer, if somewhere a spirit finally at peace watched over the man who loved him enough to move heaven and earth, well, some things don't need explaining. Some loves transcend death, and some ghosts finally get to rest. The end. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed the story, tell us your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to subscribe and click the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time, keep daydreaming in BL.